This is an emergency broadcast. The following transmission is being relayed through unsecured frequencies. If you are hearing this, you are not safe. Trust nothing you see. Trust nothing you hear. Stay hidden. Stay silent. This is not a drill. You are listening to Green Mountain Signals. God help us all. Good evening. Or whatever hour of the day or night this finds you. My name isn't important. What's left of it anyway. If you're hearing this, you're alive. That's something. For now, I'm speaking to you from somewhere in the Green Mountains, Vermont. The land of syrup and serenity, as the brochures say, or said. The maples here are bleeding crimson. Not the usual postcard red, mind you. Darker. Like the trees themselves are wounded. The air smells like wood smoke and rot. You know that crisp, clean bite of October? Gone. Replaced by something metallic, like licking a battery, or a bloodstain. I was a hiker once, a leaf peeper, as the locals called us. Came here every fall to lose myself in the hills. Now, I'm just a man with a backpack, a ham radio, and a pistol with 3 bullets left. 3 bullets, one for each of my kids if it comes to that. But let's not start there. Let's start with the silence. You ever notice how quiet the world gets before it screams? 3 days ago, the birds stopped singing. Not a chickadee, not a crow. Just nothing. Then the wind started. Not wind, really. More like breathing. Long, low exhales through the pines. You'd swear the mountains were sighing. Or waking up. I found the first one near Smuggler's Notch. A woman. Or what was left of her. No bite marks, no blood, just empty. Her eyes were open, milky as a dead trout's. She was sitting against a birch tree, half covered in leaves, like the forest was trying to bury her politely. Her lips were moving, no sound, just shapes. Help. Run. Hungry. Over and over. When I got closer, her head snapped toward me. Fast. Too fast. Bones cracking like dry twigs. She didn't get up, didn't lunge, just stared and whispered. That's when I heard the others. They don't shamble, don't groan. They hunt. Quiet as shadows. You'll smell them first. Spoiled meat and wet earth. Then you'll feel it. The air gets heavier, colder. Like winter's fingernails dragging down your spine. They move in packs, not mindless, strategic, cutting off trails, herding people into ravines. And their eyes, oh, their eyes, pupils blown wide, black as oil spills, reflecting everything, you mostly, your fear, your heartbeat, your warmth. But it's not just them. The woods themselves are wrong. I've seen birches twist into knots overnight, roots slithering over rocks like snakes, moss glowing faintly blue, pulsing in the dark like a heartbeat. And the dreams. God, the dreams. You still sleep, don't you? When you dare, you'll see it, a figure in the mist. No face, just a silhouette, jagged as a lightning strike. It points, always points, to the mountains, to something older. We're not alone in this. I've picked up snippets from other frequencies. A farmer in Stowe. They're in the cornfields, moving through the stalks like they're part of them. Jenny, my daughter, she's out there. I can hear her singing. But Jenny's been dead since Tuesday. A park ranger in Camel's Hump. The trails are rearranging. GPS is junk. South is north. The cliffs. They're alive. They're hungry. And last night, a broken transmission from Burlington. The lake. Lake Champlain. Something's rising. The water's boiling. It's not water anymore. It's hell. They're calling it the unbinding. On the coast, they're too busy burning cities to name it. But here, in the hills, we know. This land has bones. Old bones. Older than the glaciers. And whatever's happening, it's not just a virus, not just a plague. It's a reckoning. Let me tell you about the stars. You can still see them here, away from the fires. Or you could. Now they're gone. Not covered by clouds. Gone. The sky's a black sheet, except for the rift. You've seen it, haven't you? That jagged tier over Mansfield? It doesn't shimmer, doesn't glow. It's a void, a mouth. And sometimes things pass in front of it. Shapes, too tall, too thin, walking the ridgeline. I found a journal today. Belonged to a kid, maybe. Page after page of crayon drawings, smiling suns, happy trees, then the last entry, a black scribble consuming the entire page, written over and over in shaky capitals. They want the dark back. Maybe they're right. Maybe the light's always been a fluke, a cosmic oversight. Because the dark is moving, not the absence of light. Something alive. It pools in the valleys, creeps up the hills. I've watched it swallow entire towns. Ludlow, Plymouth, Woodstock. You can hear them screaming until the very end. Then, silence. And the whispers start. I'll tell you about the whispers tomorrow, if I'm still here. For now, stay off the roads. Don't drink the water. And if you hear something scratching at your door, don't lie to yourself. It's not the wind. This is Green Mountain Signals. Tune in next time. If there is a next time. This is an emergency broadcast. The following transmission is compromised. Disregard all prior safety protocols. Avoid congregating. Avoid firelight. Avoid memory. You are not immune to the dark. You are listening to Green Mountain Signals. Pray if it helps. It won't. It's raining ash. Not snow. Not sleet. Ash. Fine and gray, like the mountains have been cremated. It sticks to your skin, clogs your throat, tastes like burnt hair and regret. I'm holed up in an old fire watch tower near Bolton Valley. The windows are boarded, the doors barricaded with splintered pews from a chapel down the road. Sacrilege? Maybe. But the dead don't care about blasphemy. Neither do I. Last night the wind carried voices, not the whispers from the woods, human voices, singing a hymn, I think. Nearer, my God, to thee. Cracked and warbling, like a choir of broken records. I followed the sound to a church in Underhill. Steeple collapsed, bell buried in the mud. Inside, candles. Dozens of them, melted down to stubs, wax pooling like candlelight tumors, and in the pews, parishioners. Still, silent, upright. They weren't infected. No black eyes, no twitching, just hollow, like wax figures left too close to the sun. Their skin was translucent, veins black as ink, and their chests, God, their chests, hollowed out. Rib cages cracked open, organs missing. No blood, no mess, just empty vessels. And their chests, God, their chests, hollowed out. Rib cages cracked open, organs missing. No blood, no mess, just empty vessels. But their faces, peaceful, almost smiling, as if something reached inside and scooped out the pain. The noise left them quiet. I ran, didn't look back, but the hymn followed me, still follows me, faint in the back of my skull. You hear it too, don't you? Don't answer. Just keep listening. They're calling it the hollowing, not my term. Picked it up from a CB radio channel before it went dead. A man's voice, raw and trembling. It's not the bitten you gotta fear. It's the blissful, the empty ones. They'll open you up, make you quiet, make you light. They're coming for the noise, For the heat. We're too loud, too bright. The dark, it wants silence. He's right. The longer this goes on, the more I feel it. A pressure, not in the air, in your head, like a hook behind your eyes, reeling toward the mountains, toward that rift. You fight it, but it's easier to let go, to go quiet, to go still. I met a woman yesterday, alive, Ferel. She'd been hiding in a root cellar for a week, eating raw potatoes and listening to the soil above her shift. Said the ground's breathing. Said it's learning. Told me about her son. He'd gone out to check the traps. Came back with a rabbit, still twitching. They ate it. Tasted sweet, she said. Too sweet. By midnight, the boy's teeth fell out. His tongue turned black. Then he unfolded. You ever see a moth escape a cocoon? It's not graceful, not magical. It's violent, wet, struggling. That boy, he split open. Not his belly, his spine, peeled apart like a zipper. And what came out? Stop. Don't think about it. Don't picture it. The woman didn't scream, didn't run. She sat there, potato peelings in her lap, and whispered, "He's prettier now. Prettier than he's ever been." I left her there. Didn't look back. But I heard her laughing as I ran. Laughing and singing. The animals. They're not right. Deer with too many legs. Crows with too many eyes. And the bears. God, the bears. Twice as big. Furless. Skin like melted rubber. They don't roar. They hum. A low resonant frequency that makes your molars ache. Saw one yesterday standing in the middle of Route 100, just staring at the sky, its mouth open, wide, wider, unhinged, and pouring out of its throat. Fireflies. Except they weren't glowing. They were screaming. Tiny humanoid faces in the swarm. Familiar faces. I don't sleep anymore. Can't. But I drift. In and out. And when I do, I see it. The figure. The one from the dreams. Closer now. Standing at the edge of the tree line. Still faceless. Still pointing. But there's something new. A sound. A name. Not mine. A word. Avalon. You heard it too, didn't you? Don't lie. The phones are working again. Sort of. Not calls. Voicemails. Old ones. Bursting through at random. My wife's voice from 6 years ago. Don't forget the milk. My daughter singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star the night before she... But there's new ones too. Voices I don't recognize. Dozens. Hundreds. All leaving the same message. Come home. Come home. The dark is almost here. And the static. It's alive. I've started recording it. Playing it backward. You know what it says? We missed you. Over and over. We missed you. We missed you. They're here. At the tower. Don't know how they found me? Don't care. They're scratching at the walls. Not the infected. Not the hollow ones. Something else. Smaller. Faster. Sounds like a child giggling. Let us in, it says. Let us in. Let us in. Let us... Gunshots. 3 of them. 2 left. Let me tell you about the stars. They're back. Sort of. Not stars. Eyes. Glittering. Hungry. They blink. They watch. And the moon. It's back too. But it's wrong. Too large. Too close. Cratered surface pulsing like a rotten heart. Sometimes it drips. Molten silver splashing into the valleys. Where it lands, things grow. Not plants, not flesh. Something in between. A group of National Guardsmen fled through here last week. What was left of them? They'd been stationed in Montpelier. Said the capital's gone. Not overrun. consumed. The gold dome of the State House cracked open like an egg, and inside, a nest, tendrils, egg sacs, and something moving inside them, something with too many joints. One of the soldiers, couldn't have been older than 19, kept repeating, "The trees gave them to us, the trees owed us." When I asked what he meant, he pressed his rifle to his palate and they left me his dog tags and a warning. Don't look at the clouds. I looked. They're not clouds. They're veils, floating, drifting, and behind them, shapes, massive, angular, not ships, not alive, other. They cast shadows that move on their own. Shadows with teeth. The ground splitting, not earthquakes, wounds, gashes in the dirt miles long, and inside, light. Not daylight, not fire. A sickly green, throbbing like an infected wound. I've seen people crawl into them, willingly, happily. A man in Morrisville walked right up to the edge, waved at me and said, "It's warmer down there." Then he let himself fall. I waited for a scream, got a laugh instead. Echoing, fading. There are things crawling out too. Not the infected, not the hollowed. These are worse. Skin like bark, eyes like fissures. They walk on all fours, limbs bending the wrong way, and they sing. Nursery rhymes, lullabies. Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop. You know the scariest part? The songs are catchy. I find myself humming them. I found another journal. This one's older, leather-bound. Pages stained with wine or blood. It belonged to a priest. 1800s, maybe. His writing starts pious, then degrades. Entries about rituals in the woods. About something buried under Mount Mansfield. Something that slept uneasily. The last page is a sketch, a symbol. 3 circles inside a triangle. Inside the circles, an eye, a flame, a door. I've seen that symbol. Carved into trees, scratched into the ash. And last night, on my arm. Didn't put it there. They're inside the tower. I don't know how. The door's still barred, the window's intact, but they're here. In the corners, under the desk, small, pale. Their mouths sewn shut with thread. No, not thread. Veins. They're holding hands, circling me, humming, the gun's in my hand. 2 bullets left. My mother used to say Vermont winters could kill you in 2 ways, the cold or the quiet. She was right. The quiet's here. It's inside. And it's so heavy. If you're hearing this, I'm sorry for all of it. And if the static ever says we missed you, don't answer. This is Green Mountain Signals, signing off. This is an emergency broadcast. The following transmission is a distress signal. Disregard hope, disregard time, disregard the wet sounds beneath your floorboards. You are not saved. You are not forsaken. You are listening to Green Mountain Signals. The dark is patient. The dark is kind. Still here, aren't you? 2 bullets left. I used one on something else. Not sure what. It had my daughter's face. Same freckles. Same chipped tooth from when she fell off her bike. But its neck too long. Twisted. Like taffy. It called me Daddy. Said it missed me. Said the dark would kiss away the sting. I didn't hesitate. They're getting smarter. Sicker. The rules don't apply anymore. You think you've seen it all. The hollowed, the stitched-mouthed children. The bears that hum hymns. But the mountains, they're just getting started. I'm in a motel now. Or what's left of one. Route 7 near Brandon. The sign says Starlight Lodge, but the stars here are liars. The pool's full of bile. Thick. Acidic. Dissolved a dog in it this morning. Left nothing but a collar. Engraved, Buddy. Poor bastard. bastard. Found a camcorder in the office. Old school. Tape still rolling. Watched it. Wish I hadn't. It showed a family. Mom, dad, 2 kids. Hiding here when the world went cold. They thought they were safe. Boarded the windows. Blessed the doors. Prayed. But the boy, he started sleepwalking. Standing in the corner, facing the wall, whispering to the mold. The parents tried to tie him to the bed. Didn't work. He'd liquefy. Slip through the ropes. Pool on the floor. Then reform. Smiling. The tape's last scene. The dad, hysterical, screaming at the camera. He says there's a god in the static. A god with too many hands. It's under the bed. It's in the TV. It's... Then the screen fills with black tendrils. Wet. Squirming. And a voice deep as a coal mine growls. You made us. Small. I burned the camcorder. Watched the plastic melt. It screamed. They're eating the dead. Not the infected. The other dead. The ones who stayed human. Found a group of survivors near Middlebury. 5 of them. Holed up in a library. They'd lasted a month. Stockpiled food. Barricaded doors. Smart. But they forgot about the books. The books started breeding. Pages multiplying. Words rearranging. They woke up to the shelves sagging. Novels bulging like overripe fruit. Then the books burst. Spores, black and sticky, clung to their skin, grew into veins, into scripts. By the time I got there, they were stories. Literally. Their flesh was paper, their blood, ink, and they were reciting themselves. The woman by the window kept repeating her own death. And then the protagonist felt the spores bloom in her lungs, a tragic third act twist. The man in the corner, reduced to a prologue. I torched the place. Watched the flames spell out thank you in the smoke. The roads are alive, not melted, not breathing. Alive. They flinch when you step on them. Potholes blink. Yellow lines squirm like tapeworms. It played a sermon. Preacher's voice honey thick. The dark is your mother. The void is your cradle. Let go. Let go. Let... I ripped out the wires. Now the car won't stop. Just drives. No key. No gas. It's taking me somewhere. I'm broadcasting from the back seat. The rearview mirror. There's something in it. Not me. Not anymore. A thing with my face, but its eyes are... Stop the car. Stop the car. Stop the... Alive. Somehow. The car's wrapped around a pine tree. Engine dead. But the radio, still preaching. You cannot outrun the teeth of the sky. I'm walking now. Following the river. The Winooski. Or what's left of it. The water's black, thick. Like motor oil. It doesn't flow. It undulates. And things swim in it. Not fish, not eels. Fingers. Thousands of them. Grasping. Tasting the air. A man tried to drink from it yesterday. I didn't stop him. Let him kneel. Let him sip. His throat bulged. His eyes rolled back. Then his jaw unhinged, and he vomited a nest of centipedes. They skittered into the woods singing, You Are My Sunshine. The trees have faces now, not carved, grown, bark peeling into lips, knots widening into eyes. They talk, not to me, to each other, arguing. The meat is too loud, one groans. The meat is too bright, another hisses. Then they laugh, a sound like roots snapping. I passed a graveyard. All the stones were gone, just holes, perfectly round, bottomless. I dropped a rock into one. It never hit, just kept falling. Then something drooled back up, thick, phosphorescent. It spelled words in the grass. Jump. Jump. Remember when the worst thing in Vermont was a moose in the road? Or a nor'easter knocking out the power? We'd huddle by the fire, tell stories, sip cider. Now, the fire watches back. The cider's full of worms. And the stories, they're coming true. A farmer near Bennington swore he saw Paul Bunyan. Not the statue, the myth. 100 feet tall, axe dragging trenches, but his face, hollow. His ox babe, a tumorous mass of fur and teeth. They're stomping towns flat, not killing, collecting. Stuffing people into burlap sacks. Hear them screaming as he walks. And the lakes, they're marrying the sky. I saw it. Lake Willoughby. The water rose in a spiral, met a storm cloud. Lightning danced between them, and in the mist, a child. Gigantic. Naked. Skin like marble. Eyes like eclipses. It pointed at me and giggled. The sound shattered every window in the county. The static's changing. It's not noise anymore. It's a voice. Clear, feminine, maternal. It knows my name. My real one. It talks about my kids. Says they're waiting in the quiet. Says I can see them again if I... No, I must not think like this. Last night I tried to contact the outside world. Dialed every frequency. Got one reply. A voice, crisp and federal. This is the emergency alert system. The United States of America no longer exists. Repeat, the United States of America no longer exists. Please remain calm. The dark will be with you shortly. I found another journal. This one's mine. Don't remember writing it. Entries dated next week. Details. Bad. The host becomes the hymn. The rift births a twin. Avalon is the key. The last page is a sketch. My body, suspended in the air. Ribs cracked open, light pouring out, and around me, figures, tall, faceless, drinking the light. They're coming. I feel them in the static, in the soil, in the blood. I'm at the base of Mount Mansfield now. The rift's above me. It's singing. A lullaby. The same one my wife sang to our daughter. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. There's a door here. Old. Oak. Banded with iron. Carved with that symbol. I flame door. It wasn't here yesterday. The static says, open it. The journal says, open it. My last bullet says, open it. This is an emergency broadcast. The following transmission is a requiem. Disregard endings. Disregard beginnings. Disregard the thing wearing your father's skin. You are not alone. You were never alone. You are listening to Green Mountain Signals. The dark is love. The dark is home. I opened the door. It wasn't a door, not really. A threshold, a mouth, a goddamn metaphor. But metaphors bleed here. Avalon isn't a place, it's a process. A shedding. A skinning of the soul. The rift? It's not a tear. It's a stitch. Pull it, and the world unravels. I'm inside the mountain now. Or what the mountain hides. The air's thick. Sweet. Like funeral lilies. The walls, they're not rock. They're flesh. Pulsing. Veined. Warm. And the light, oh, the light. Not light. Anti-light. It doesn't illuminate. It erases. I saw them. The ones from the dreams. The tall things. Faceless. Nameless. They're not monsters. They're gardeners. Pruning the overgrowth of existence. And we're the weeds. My daughter is here. Or a version of her. She's holding a jar full of fireflies. Their light isn't yellow, it's black. She says, Daddy, you're late. They've already started the harvest. I follow her. Of course I do. We walk through fields of wheat that bleed when the wind blows. The sky here isn't sky, it's a ceiling of teeth. And the ground, it's made of hands. Millions of them. palms up, fingers grasping. They pass me a cup. It's full of my own memories. The day my wife died, my son's first steps, the last time I hugged them. I drink. It tastes like forgiveness. They're not evil. The tall things, the dark, they're hungry, but not for flesh, for stories, for the noise we make, the chaos, the love, the grief. We're symphonies to them. And the apocalypse? Just a sustain pedal, holding the note until it rots. The journal was right. I'm changing. My skin's translucent. My bones hum. I don't need the gun anymore. The last bullet, I gave it to my daughter. She laughed. It turned to dust in her hand. They want me to sing, to join the hymn. I refuse. Then I hear their voices. My wife, my kids. Not the copies, the real ones. Or as real as anything gets here. They're in the anti-light, waiting. It doesn't hurt, my wife says. It's just quiet. My son tugs my sleeve. Stay, Dad. We can be together. We can be still. I'm so tired. The static's in my veins now. The dark's in my marrow. I can feel the world outside. What's left of it. Cities collapsed into hives. Oceans boiled into steam. The last survivors clinging to radio towers and lies. And the stars. The stars are back, but they're closer. Close enough to see they're not stars, they're eggs. Am I hallucinating? I do not know. I won't sing, not for you. The tall things tilt their heads. No eyes, but I feel them judging. One reaches for me. Its hand is a forest. Its fingers, rivers. It presses a thumb to my forehead, and I see everything. The before, the after, the during. The universe is a cycle, a breath. Inhale, light. Exhale, dark. We're the pause between, the gasp, the shudder. And Vermont, this mountain, it's a fault line, a scar, where the last exhale ended. We were never meant to outlive the light. I'm singing now. I don't know the words, they're not mine, they're older, truer. The hymn unravels me, unknots my ribs, lets the light pour out. My wife takes my hand, my son takes hers. We walk into the anti-light. It doesn't hurt, it's just quiet.